Thanks for signing on. And what is the second day of Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month? Again, thank you so much for joining us for the Stay Healthy at Home webinar series. Today's topic is very, very important, and we are joined by a guest presenter. So we're really excited about that. The title of today's presentation is Empowering Advocates Through Video. And we think this is a really appropriate topic to, again, kick off Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, which we celebrate throughout the entire month of March every year. As a reminder, if you have questions, comments, or feedback throughout the webinar, please use the questions box located on your GoToWebinar control panel. So again, if you look at the control panel, it should be on the right side of your screen. You could just hit the little triangle next to questions and it'll drop down a questions box. You can type your question, comment, or feedback there. If we don't answer your question during the webinar, we will have a dedicated question and answer section at the end of today's session. But we welcome feedback, don't be shy. So again, as I said, March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. We are so excited to take this opportunity every year to really highlight the amazing work that self-advocates do throughout the year to advance human rights and services for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities here in New Jersey and everywhere. Self-advocacy is truly the worldwide civil rights movement for and by people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So again, the theme of this year's Awareness Month is advocacy anytime, anywhere. We came up with this because, a lot of us are spending more time at home over the past year, but that doesn't mean that we've slowed down in our advocacy efforts. There really is so many opportunities to participate in advocacy campaigns and be a self-advocate at any point now with the use of technology. So we typically celebrate the month with an in-person event at the New Jersey State House down in Trenton. Here's a picture from one of the past year's events where self-advocates gather at the State House to meet with legislators and remind legislators to keep the needs of people with disabilities in mind when making big decisions about the state budget or about laws and policies affecting all of us. So we couldn't have the event this year, but we were so excited to meet with the Senate President Stephen Sweeney today on Zoom, as well as the Department of Human Services Commissioner Sarah Edelman. So we just actually wrapped up those meetings in place of our in-person events. And there is an opportunity for anybody to participate in DD Awareness Month by filling out a template that we created. So here's a sample of some of the templates we've collected over the past couple months. Corey has stayed active as a self-advocate by continuing to stick up for herself and make decisions that keep her safe. She's been doing a lot more advocacy on Zoom and staying in touch with family over the phone, but also attended our congressional recess advocacy meetings during the summer to ask that they support COVID relief for people with disabilities. So Corey's quote just highlights that, maybe we can't go to the State House in person or go down to Capitol Hill and advocate, but we can still be effective advocates. Callahan's been making choices about how they spend their time and the activities that they participate in virtually. Evelyn, the president of the New Jersey Statewide Self-Advocacy Network Advisory Board, has testified at assembly hearings and budget hearings, where Nick, a Council 3 member, has created his own website for people with disabilities to teach folks how to be more confident and independent as self-advocates. Janet's been communicating with self-advocates virtually and also attending those self-advocacy meetings on Zoom. So she's staying connected, but also staying safe and healthy at home. He has continued to speak up for himself and let people know what he likes and doesn't like. So again, this is a great opportunity for anybody, self-advocates, as well as group advisors, to download the Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month template and fill it out And if you email it back to us, it will be featured on the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project social media pages throughout the month to celebrate. So again, we're active on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And as always, this is a direct link to sign up for the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project email list. And you will get all of this information to your inbox in one spot. So we urge you to do that. All right, so I'm so excited to announce our guest presenter today. We're just honored to be joined by a self-advocate and former SARTAC Fellow, Ms. Sorretie Jaro. Sorretie is a self-advocate from Spokane, Washington. Sorretie first got involved in advocacy during her transition from high school when she joined Images at Spokane Community College in Spokane, Washington. After high school, Sorretie stayed active in advocacy as part of the People First of Washington State Chapter. She served as chapter president and secretary of the Spokane Lilac Chapter. She has also been part of other disability organizations like SAIL in Seattle, the Arc of Spokane as a board member, and she has served on the WISE Community Summit Planning Committee. Currently, Ms. Jaro is the DD Ombuds Advisory Committee meeting chairperson. Sorretie is passionate about advocacy and believes that everyone has the right to learn how to use their skills for a reason, whether it be sticking up for yourself and fighting for change to make the world a better place for you and everybody else to live in. So again, thank you so much for joining us today, Sorretie, and I am going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ashley. Again, my name is Sorretie Jaro, and I wanted to share a bit of my SARTAC project and what is SARTAC mean and how I got involved and applied with it. First of all, through my presentation, I'm going to share my videos and way to get access with SARTAC. Can you move on to the next slide as I'm going to continue with my presentation? What is SARTAC? SARTAC is a Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered. It's connected with SABE, that it stands for Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered, the oldest national self-advocacy organization in the country. Has been awarded a grant from the Administration for Community Living to establish the first ever National Self-Advocacy Resource Technical Assistance Center, which stands for SARTAC. The Resource Center is funded as a project of national significance by the Administration of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. Under the Administration on Disabilities, the advisory committee includes 13 self-advocates from all over the USA to work as a team to oversee the SARTAC project. The center was created to share self-advocacy ideas and help others across the country. Next slide, please. This is the page, website page where you can visit to learn about SARTAC, and it would show my project on there as well. As you guide through it, I don't know for sure on how to get through it, but I bet if you can kind of find it through these tabs, I think it would direct you to you whenever possible.
Yeah, so Sorretie, we're going to actually go through a quick tour of the SARTAC website and specifically check out your fellow page. So let's jump into the next slide here.
Okay.
All right. So this is the SARTAC website, and again, it's located at selfadvocacyinfo.org. As Sorretie said, SARTAC stands for Self-Advocacy Resource and Technical Assistance Center. So it is an acronym. If you click the About tab, a bunch of resources pop up. And this is specifically the program that Sorretie was talking about, the fellowships for self-advocates. So you just click that link. That will open up a new site where you can check out all of the recent SARTAC Fellows. So these are all members of the 2020 and 2021 SARTAC Fellow class. Here are the SARTAC Fellows from 2019, 2018 to 2019, which is part of Sorretie's group. And as Sorretie said, this is closely related to the national organization SAVE, Self-Advocates Becoming Empowered. Each self-advocate has the opportunity to decide what their topic will be. So it really ranges from overall awareness and acceptance to things like empowering advocates through video. That is going to be the bulk of our conversation for the rest of our time together today. So this is Sorretie's piece of the SARTAC site. And again, there's a lot of information on this website. So you can check out all of the fellow projects, fellowship projects, but also under resources, there are some recently added resources specific to COVID, cultural competency, as well as guidance for employees with disabilities on COVID. They have released some great videos, and I really enjoyed this part of the website that focuses on self-advocacy and differentiates between what self-advocacy is versus what it isn't. And I think it's done in a really great, accessible way. And it's all here. This website is free to use. I've used it before as a group advisor and trainer in working with self-advocates and staff members. So we are going to be really digging into specific ways to get involved in advocacy as a legislative advocate today. And another great resource on the site is that you can find self-advocacy groups by state. So the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project is listed as the sole self-advocacy organization here in the state of New Jersey. And I just think it's a really great accessible way to find those resources in other states. So that's just a brief little tour that we wanted to provide of the SARTAC website.
What is a fellow? A fellow is a person chosen by SARTAC to do one of these projects. As a fellow, you will work with a group called a host organization. SARTAC will choose 6 fellows each year. There will be a total of 24 over 4 years. So what it is that as you're a fellow, you have to find a host organization to connect with to help with your project to make it more successful. And then they would be like your resource and assistance. So they would just support you on your project. And as you're a fellow, you would learn how to find resources online that can be good for your project. And then they would help you on ideas of what you want to name your project, and they can also connect with you through meetings with a SARTAC coordinator or a SARTAC or person working with SARTAC. But the coordinator, her name is Danielle Underwood, and she's the main person that is putting SARTAC together. And Teresa Moore, she's the second person working with Danielle to put together this organization to reach out with SARTAC fellows. And how I got involved with it is I connected with the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Ombuds, local in Spokane, Washington. And Lisa Robb, she works for the organization, and she's the one that told me about this project, this organization, SARTAC, because I've never heard of it before. So she was the first person that was telling me about it and asked if I wanted to get involved. And I told her, yes, I would like to get involved. And so how I applied is I connected with Danielle Underwood, and she connected me with some questions and to create like a draft for me to answer some of my information on my questions and to email it to her to how I applied. I didn't go like apply like online. I just had to create like a draft with some questions she wanted me to ask, she wanted me to answer, and then I would forward it to her. Okay, next slide.
Sorretie, would you mind just mentioning a little bit more about the application process? Like, did Danielle Underwood give you questions about your project, or did you present questions you wanted to answer?
She gave me some questions in her term of what I want to be connected to. Some, like, I can give you some sample questions that she've asked. Like, why is it important to the fellow personality, the host, and the self-advocacy movement overall? Or describe the topic. Why is the year needed to complete the task, and also my information. Do you have an intellectual and or developmental disability as defined by the Developmental Disabilities Rights Act in 2000? Yes or no? If you've had a leader training in the past, what is it? Or how have you acted as a leader, and for what groups, how long? So it's just like ideas of my experience as a leader and in the self-advocacy movement.
Got it. That's really helpful. So did you want to
Yeah.
move on to the next slide?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, this is a picture when I was at the SABE National Conference. Danielle Underwood is the lady that is on the left side. And she's the one that's the coordinator, and Teresa Moore is the one in the peach shirt in the picture, and she works on top. She works with Danielle on the organization, and then these are all my group of fellows, and I'm the only one in Washington State that was a fellow of the program, and then these are the other people that was in different areas of the states. One was in Vermont and Maryland, New York. And those are all the states I can list. Okay, next slide.
And Sorretie, you said this photo was taken at the National Self-Advocacy Conference hosted in Alabama. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. So did you
Birmingham.
Birmingham, Alabama, that's right. Did you guys have a chance to discuss your different fellowship projects at the conference?
Well, when I was at the conference, I got to advise some of the other old fellows about their project and ask questions and stuff. So I got to listen to their projects. I didn't get to present my project because I don't think I was really prepared yet, since I was new. But I got to listen to some sample presentations from other fellows that have been through the program.
Awesome.
So my SARTAC project is empowering advocates through video. I am providing you some resources on what to do to advocate for yourself, to others, and your legislators. Ways to know how to speak up, to use your advocacy skills. I made advocacy video provided by Skillskin. Skillskin is an employment organization in Spokane, and they're the ones that created my video, like a donation. So I didn't have to pay them to do it. So they just donated their time to make me an advocacy video. The video will help teach you ways to communicate to your legislators, to know what to do, where to go to find your legislator. So some ideas on to communicate to your legislators when you talk with them about your how to make your community look better for you. The video help you teach what advocacy looks like in a legislative setting. So it's like advocating for a bill that is being discussed, and when you have concerns about a bill, it's good to always communicate to your legislators so you can figure out to improve that bill. Okay. Okay, next slide. So this is my my advocacy video that was made by Skillskin. I wanted to share it with you, and it's with my SARTAC Fellowship project.
Hold on just 1 second there. I think we need to go back and make sure the sound's all the way up so everybody can hear Sorretie's video.
My name is Sorretie Jaro, and I am from Spokane, and I'm also a SARTAC Fellow, and I am doing a project with advocacy. What SARTAC is, it's Self-Advocacy Resource Technical Assistance Center, and it is a program from an organization called SAVE, and they are in Kansas City, and I am representing Spokane. And my project is empowering advocates through video, so it would provide advocacy tools, people with disabilities nationwide, and I would be able to share it in the community. Legislators would like to hear my story because it's not just me, it's people like out there that have the same issue. What we do as advocates is to be able to talk to each of the legislators in your area. I find people with disabilities should be able to advocate to the legislators because it would reach out to a lot of people, and make your voices be heard. The senator and representative would like to hear from me, and they would like to hear from each of you too. The tools in to find your legislators on the computer, on the internet, at www.leg.wa.gov, and then you would find it by your address. Ways to communicate to your legislator is video, video message, and talking on the phone, and sending an email. I like to send a video because I would like to spread the word out to the community, and to be able to share with legislators across the states. It is easy to send and do a video record. I would make my story stand out to people with disabilities to spread the word out. It is important for someone to vote because it has your voices be heard. The legislator would still work for you even though you didn't vote for them. I'm an individual with disability, and then I'm an advocate. I do think people with disabilities should vote, and other people with non-disabilities should vote too.
So Sorretie, thanks so much again for, going through the process of making this video with Skillskin. I really appreciated that you shared the Washington State legislative site with the self-advocates in Washington. I was really happy to, hear that you were using that site and that it's been helpful to you in your videos. We actually are about to watch a video that we created to help self-advocates in New Jersey connect with their legislators here. So we'll go through that video. Yeah, and there's different ways, like you said, of connecting with the legislators. It doesn't always have to be a phone call. It doesn't only have to be an email. There's a couple of different ways of doing it and finding out who those representatives are. So let's check out that video right now.
Okay.
So let's take a look at the Find Your Legislator website that is part of the New Jersey Legislature homepage. It is a legitimate site run by the state of New Jersey, and it is a way to find out who the legislators in your area are, as well as different ways to connect with them or reach out to them. So the website offers a couple different options for this. The first is finding your legislator by their name. So if that is not something that you know, there are other ways to figure out who your representatives are. But this is just an alphabetical list of all of the different senators and assembly members throughout New Jersey. And again, these folks are voted into office during a general election. So they are put into positions of power to make laws that affect all of us. So this is a way to find out who they are and how to connect with them in a way that works best for you. So there's the alphabetical list. That's one option. And then if we click on municipality, this is a way to find out who your legislators are based on the town that you live in. So it's an alphabetical list, and you can scroll right through and pick the town where you live. So let's test it out for Cranford, which is part of District 21. So let's click on Cranford, and we see that it's part of District 21, representing Morris, Somerset, and Union counties. So if we click here, the smaller link for legislators for District 21, it brings up a separate page that has the photo, name, political party affiliation, as well as the contact information for each legislator. So every district has one senator and 2 assembly members. They make up the legislative branch of state government. So this is another option to find out who your legislators are. If we go back to the homepage, we see that the third option for finding our legislators is to search by legislative district. Again, if you don't know that information right off the bat, the other option that we just reviewed, where you can search by township, might work better. But there are 40 legislative districts throughout the state. You can see the map over here, all broken down into different colors. And it also details the municipalities or townships in each district. So the fourth way to find our legislator is to click on an interactive map of all of the different legislative districts. And again, this map is valid for 2011 through 2020. Sometimes these legislative districts are restructured based on the census. So again, another critically important reason to fill out your census, because this can have a major impact on legislative districts. So if we wanted to click on District 13, it will bring up a list of the legislators for that area. So we see Senator Declan O'Scanlan, Assemblywoman Serena DiMazzo, and Assemblyman Gerard Scharfenberger. And you can actually review how these legislators have voted by particular bills or by subject. So let's check out the subjects here. There's a lot. So it starts, again, it's alphabetically listed, agriculture, and it goes through all of the different subjects that a bill may be presented to the legislature about. So you can scroll through, you can see exactly how this particular legislator has voted on these different bills. You can actually click on this link right here, which will bring up the specific bill. A copy of it is right here. You can read it in PDF format, and then the history of the bill as it traveled through the legislature. So there's a lot of information that can be found through that particular option. And the final option is to, it creates a way to correspond with or communicate with your legislators. So let's check that out. So again, they're asking you to pick the town that you live in, and it'll populate a list of different representatives for that area. So let's pick, let's pick Denellen. So it's part of District 22. Let's find the representatives for that area. And you see there's Senator Scutari, Assemblywoman Carter, and Assemblyman Kennedy. So if we wanted to reach out to all of these folks, we can certainly do that. Just check all those boxes. Or you can pick and choose the particular person that you want to reach out to. So select your representatives. A new page comes up that lets you know that this is a way to connect with your legislator. So you can pick a subject, and it is, again, organized by alphabetical listing, A to Z. So if you wanted to discuss an issue related to people with developmental disabilities, it's right there under Human Services. So you would then fill out your information, your mailing address, your permanent address, and you can provide a phone number and email address if you want. You can also identify as a member of an advocacy group or organization, but again, that is optional. This is not required. But if you were filling out this form and wanted to advocate on an issue of importance to people with developmental disabilities, and you want to identify as a member of the statewide self-advocacy network, you can certainly put that information there. And then this is open to you to personalize. This is where you write your message. So in the action alerts that we reviewed previously, the messages were drafted for you, but this is really an opportunity to craft your own message that will go directly to your representatives. So again, there are several options for connecting with your legislators, and it is all through the State of New Jersey's legislature homepage. Okay, so again, that was just a video kind of detailing different ways to not only find out who your legislators are, but also ways to connect with them through the New Jersey Legislature website. So here we go. We'll move on to our next slide.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm on the group discussion of what does self-advocacy mean to you.
One second, Sorretie. So this is a slide that's related to the video, creating an actual video to advocate. So as Sorretie said, that is, one of her preferred ways of connecting with legislators, because it provides, they can see you, they can hear you without being there in person. So some helpful hints we wanted to share about actually recording those advocacy videos would be to, pay special attention to your camera angle and lighting. So if you know that your message is going to be sent to your legislator, you want to make sure you're presenting yourself as the professional advocate that you are. That includes, taking care to arrange your camera angle so they can clearly see you, just as Sorretie was in the video we watched before. You want to make sure your lighting is appropriate. You're not sitting in the dark or sitting in front of a super sunny window where they can't see your face. You also want to make sure that you prepare talking points ahead of time. So before you begin recording that video, you want to plan out the things that you're going to say. What is your ask of the legislator? Why are you reaching out to that member of the legislature? So that involves knowing your audience. Who is this person, and how can they help you achieve what your goal is? As always, you want to make sure you're communicating clearly and with respect. So when you're creating an advocacy video about, let's say, the state budget, you're not also going to discuss other bills or other policies that you are advocating on. It's important to stay focused on one item per video. And as always, you want to make sure that if you need some help or support recording your video, ask for that. You can ask someone else to record for you. And nowadays, you know, the cameras on our phones are really great. You don't need necessarily a professional video recording setup to do this. You can use your phone or a friend's phone to record a video. And I just want to call attention to a resource that is shared in the handout section here on the GoToWebinar control panel. This is a video chat etiquette graphic that we created to just highlight some of the things that were just mentioned. When we're signing on to an advocacy meeting or meeting with a legislator or a decision maker, here are some, you know, tips that we want to keep in mind. And again, it's always about presenting yourself as the professional advocate that you are. So yeah, I would urge you to check out the handouts tab and download the NJSAP video meeting etiquette graphic. We think it can come in handy for not only budget hearings and legislative hearings and meetings, but also just generally joining Zoom meetings and different events online.
Okay, this is a group discussion to know of what does self-advocacy mean to you. What does it mean to advocate? Can someone give me an idea of what does it mean to advocate for yourself or to others?
Great question, Sorretie. And again, we would just ask that if you have a question, comment, or feedback, you can just use the questions tab to type there, and we will keep an eye on that. And thanks, Julia, for joining. And Julia mentioned she has a connection to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, so just a short drive away from Spokane, right, Sorretie?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty close to Spokane, Idaho.
Yeah, awesome. So it's a beautiful area, yeah. So Sorretie is really looking for, you know, feedback from our audience. What does it mean to be a self-advocate? What does it mean to us? Anetra said, express needs or wants. Absolutely. That's a huge part of advocacy, right, Sorretie?
Yes, it is.
And where might we do that? Where would it be appropriate to express the things that we need and want? Julia shared that advocacy is to stand up for yourself and tell people your needs and wants.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Sorretie, you know, based on this feedback, where would it be appropriate to express the things that we need and want? Where could that happen in our lives?
Well, you can express your needs and wants to, you can get involved in your group organization, maybe form a protest for what is important to you, or important to others in your community. So getting involved with your community or maybe your friends, maybe ask what your friends need or and tell them what you want, with your friends, like going to do an activity with them, or like finding ways to get connected.
Yeah, so I love those examples. Getting involved in a self-advocacy organization in your area, that's a great way to express the things that you need and want as an individual, but also collectively as a member of a self-advocacy community.
Mm-hmm. Or you're like your parents too. If you're like planning something fun to go do with your parents, or maybe your needs and wants can be with your parents, can be going to do errands, what you're needing to do for the day.
Yeah, letting the people in your life know what you need, what you want to do. That includes parents, support staff. Excellent. And Anetra also said one can advocate for yourself starting at home, at program, or even at school.
Yep.
And Jane, thanks for weighing in. Self-advocacy is to tell others what your needs are and what you want. Great. This is great feedback. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah. Can you share an example of how you've advocated for yourself? That's another
question.
Yeah.
So if you guys have examples of how you've effectively advocated at home, at school, at work, feel free to share those in the questions box. We'll keep an eye on that. We'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, so someone said that they advocate by telling the people around them about their boundaries. So what their boundaries are.
Wow.
Sorretie, do you have any examples that you'd like to share about how you have advocated for yourself in your own life?
Well, I've advocated for my goals. I've done that. Like I had a goal after high school of what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to get my driver's license and stuff, and I've achieved that goal. I got my license and I'm driving, and plus my other goal was I wanted to get married, but that hasn't came yet. But I've done that. I've tried to advocate for my goals, and I've connected being a part of advocacy work, and I'm trying to achieve my goal with that, having a advocacy as my career with disabilities.
Excellent. Yeah, that's such a great example of another way and another place to advocate would be during planning meetings, right? We all have our individual support plans or individual habilitation plans, or when we're still in school, there's the individualized education plan. That's always a great spot to advocate for the things that you need and want and what your goals are.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So again, if there's any examples of how our audience members have advocated or helped someone advocate. Oh, two more just came in. Anetra said that a client that they work with advocated to their parents that they were ready to work. So they were actually able to sign up for supported employment services. That's a huge success.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And Julia mentioned that Julia's had to tell people when she's uncomfortable. And some people have listened to that feedback and changed how they're approaching her. So I think that's a great idea. Again, boundaries, expressing to people the things you need and want, and when, what your limits are, the things that may make you uncomfortable online or in person. That's great.
Yeah, and you can advocate to your case manager too, because they would have assessments every year, and they would figure out if you have the right services. If you want additional services to want to connect to, you can advocate for that. So it's just you would advocate it would be with your parents and your case manager and whoever you have DDA assessment meetings.
Yeah, because our needs might change over time, right? So we might need more support or we might need less support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great idea, Sorretie. And like you said, it happens every year. We're doing our planning meetings every year. Our assessments are every so often, maybe not every year, but every few years. It's important to let people know what we need when we're part of those meetings.
Yep.
So shall we move on from this slide?
Yes.
Okay. And again, if there's any follow-up questions or examples that you'd like to share, we will keep an eye on the questions box.
So how does advocacy help? Who is registered to vote? Because advocacy helps you by being registered to vote, because it's to connect with your community and to find out of an issue that you want to change. So it would be like maybe registering to vote because you would receive a ballot full of questions that have been discussed by a legislator, and then you would use your voice to improve how to make it better. And connecting with your legislators is a good way to improve your advocacy and help with it. And it helps you improve things. And I have some examples. People can ask for accommodations, or in school, it can help you improve. So advocacy helps you improve things in your everyday life, at home, making choices for yourself and your life. Help make systems better. So what I mean by systems is it means your community and legislative bills to improve by the legislator. To help solve problem, that means that means if something goes wrong, then you would if something goes wrong with your community, that would help solve a problem, to talk to your legislator. Oh, I want to talk to you about this issue, like the crosswalk is unsafe because because it doesn't feel, I don't know when to walk through it. Or it can be I'm in a wheelchair and I'm trying to get across, but there's a curb there and I can't get through. So and how do you solve a problem with those? And then you talk to your legislator and explain your concern of how to make it better and improve. Asking for disability accommodations in school, work, or in your community, like assistance with your lunchroom carrying a tray, can be an informal request to, like, asking a friend, partner, instead of an aide. Or you can advocate to your teacher, aides, principal. Job coaching is a good accommodation in your community for employment. Advocating in the community may involve advocating to a landlord, property manager to install a ramp access or designated multiple accessible parking spaces. Like you can park in accessible parking lots, and then it would be easier access to get to the store, or it can go to the bank, or it can have easier access to go to the park. So these are good ways of disability accommodations, and you can even bring someone with you, like someone you trust, like a family member or a friend, that can help you if you feel like you're falling out of your chair, or they can help you bring you back up, and they can help you push you around in the community too. Okay, next slide. What happens if you don't advocate for yourself? Your voices are not heard. When you say something, it is possible that the person didn't hear you. It may also be possible they don't understand what you said when you need, or getting the things you need in certain time frame. This might mean setting up another meeting to make sure there is follow through and your needs are met. It's about connecting to fight for what you need until you're heard. People speak over you. How can people address that? Now, may I say something? I can have something to say. Can I speak without your interruption? Be prepared about what you want to say. How can you do that? Right? So write up talking points and questions before the meeting, or keep notes of the meeting as happening. That is helpful.
So you're basically saying here that, if we're at a meeting trying to advocate and someone's speaking over us, there are specific things we can say, right? You're saying things like, actually, I'm not done speaking. I have something else to say, or can I please speak without interruption? And
Yeah.
those are great phrases for everybody to know, and especially for self-advocates to know. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. People may say or do things you don't want, like if someone would tell you that, oh, you have to go do laundry. You have to go do laundry for me, and then the person never said they wanted to do that, and so they assume that you don't want, and then they assume that you do want it, but you don't want it. You don't want to do it, and that's a good way to advocate. To say, I never said that, or something like that, or maybe if you go to a restaurant and you order something that you thought you ordered, but you didn't order that. And
yeah, that's another example of a way to advocate in our everyday lives, right? If someone happens to, mistake what we say or bring us the wrong entree when we're out to dinner, it's still advocacy if we say, oh, actually, I ordered this other thing. What can we do to fix this? It's okay to ask for the things that you need, even if they seem small, right? It's not legislative advocacy, but it's still self-advocacy.
yeah, and it's part of miscommunication too, and misunderstood, and then being misunderstood. That is part of people say or may things you don't want, and it's it's like it says, is if people are nonverbal communication, a support person can assist the person in making sure the message is understood, double check the message, and you think you hear or received is accurate, and confirm with that person. So that does go with that.
Yeah, and that could be done in a few different ways. I know when we were planning for this webinar, we were saying things like, it's important to get things in writing and to understand what they say, but it's also nice to even repeat things to make sure we understand if we're having a verbal conversation. Or, if someone is using a communication device, giving that person the time that they need to respond and making sure that there's not a misunderstanding, that we know what they're communicating, we know what they need before we just say, okay, sounds good. We want to make sure we really understand what that other person needs.
Yeah, and people assuming what's best for any person is not really good with is not good at advocacy skills, because they don't know where your interest is. They wouldn't know unless you would tell them what you like to do or what you don't like for any reason. I put down a quote. When someone does things you're not comfortable with, don't ignore it. Say something about it.
And where is that quote from, Sorretie?
I just came up with that, and I wrote it down. I thought about it and wrote it. I added it.
Excellent. I would like to shout that to everybody. That is so important. Like Sorretie said, if someone does things that you're not comfortable with, it's important to let them know.
It's
So
it's a good topic of people speak over you or your voice is not heard. It works great with that.
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Move on to the next slide. The next slide is Noah Seidel, and he is part of the Washington State Office of Developmental Disability Ombuds that is in the Seattle area, which is he's from Olympia, and he's going to be able to talk about the ABLE accounts. And so I'm sharing this video because it's one of the examples of a self-advocate of people that shared their advocacy skills of what is important to them in their community. And this is the one self-advocate I can think of to share for my project.
Hello, Health and Long-Term Care Committee. My name is Noah Seidel. I'm submitting this video testimony about the ABLE Act, Senate Bill 62221. The ABLE Act would help people with disabilities who receive Social Security plan for their future and create a savings account. Currently, people on SSI can't save as much money as they want because there's a cap to the amount of money you can have in your account before they take away your SSI. But creating these ABLE accounts would allow for people with disabilities who receive SSI to put money into an ABLE account so they can save and plan for their future. So then when they need the money, they can take it out of their ABLE account. This will give people with disabilities more options for their life and have a more financial future. Thank you very much. I hope you consider supporting this legislation.
So I just want to chime in there and talk about Noah's video. I think that, you know, it's brief, right? It was less than a minute, but he communicated an ask. He mentioned the specific issue he was talking about. He mentioned a specific bill. He addressed the people that he wanted this video to be heard by. So the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, and he asked them to support the bill. So we know in less than a minute that Noah supports the ABLE account bill, and that there's a reason why, because people with disabilities want to be able to save more than a certain amount of money in their savings account and still preserve their services and benefits. And that was an advocacy issue that affected people with disabilities in New Jersey just a few years ago. The ABLE account was created and passed, and it's now a program in New Jersey, but it did take a lot of advocacy to make that happen. So I think that was just such a great example to share. A brief but very effective advocacy video.
Yeah. If you would like to reach me, my email address is on this next slide. And I could be able to answer some questions if you have if you have some questions that you want to ask, I'll be able to answer the best I can. And stuff, but any of the questions I'm not so sure of, you could be able to check out SARTAC website, or you could also email Danielle Underwood. I can maybe send it to Ashley so she can send it out for any contact information, and they can answer it as well too.
Sure. And you know, if there are questions right now for anything that Sorretie discussed during the presentation, please just use the questions box and submit your questions, and we'll do our best to answer them right now before we wrap up. So Sorretie, we did get a question.
Okay.
It is, what if you need to advocate for yourself to people who don't seem to want to listen? What can you do?
Well, if someone doesn't want to listen, then maybe the best option is to come up with something like another way. Maybe some ideas so they can have maybe like some ideas, maybe some different ideas to have them be explained better. Maybe not sure how to kind of explain it, but maybe like if they don't understand the question, it would be great to maybe think of another way that is similar to the question. I think if I explain it right.
Yeah. So Sorretie mentioned maybe rephrasing the question or the thing that you want to talk about. If it appears that the person is not understanding your original question. And also, I would just say that part of advocacy is making sure that we make time for important discussions. So planning out a good time to talk involves maybe asking that person, hey, listen, I have a really important thing I need to discuss with you. Can we schedule some time to talk? Because maybe the issue is they really do want to listen, but they have a million things on their mind and they're late for a meeting and they're hungry and they didn't get a lot of sleep last night. We just don't always know what that other person is going through. So scheduling it, making a time to talk, and maybe making it a more formal event instead of just trying to catch them as they're running between meetings. That might be helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, and a great question from William. How do you stop saying yes all the time? How can we work on that?
Oh, are you referring as the presenter or as in general? I didn't know what
Good question. I was taking it as, as an advocate, as someone who might be asked to attend different events or do different things. How do you stop saying yes all the time? William, if you want to elaborate, feel free to include that in the chat. But I think a good place to start is saying no. Sometimes you have to say no to things that don't align with your beliefs, or sometimes we're uncomfortable saying no, but it gets a little bit easier with practice. So
Yeah.
I would say start there. If we're really not comfortable with something, if someone asks us a question or asks us to do something and we're not really excited about it or we don't feel right about it, just know that it's okay to say no. It's okay to do that. And you have to look out for yourself and how you feel about things instead of trying to just make other people happy.
Yeah, and always be sure of what you say of a yes or a no. Always be sure to know what you're replying to. So another person doesn't think that, oh, okay, you want to do this and then you don't want to do it. And to like always be clear of things.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Again, establishing that boundary and letting people know how you really feel about things. And just one last question before we wrap up. Jane was wondering, what can someone do if there is a misunderstanding between two people, but they don't seem to want to listen to you? Is there another way that we can address a misunderstanding?
Well, I'm thinking of a misunderstanding between two people, like a rumor. I'm thinking of that. But how to kind of be clear is maybe like pause their conversation for a bit and to ask them of what you're meaning by this conversation. Like asking them, can you explain it to me clearly for me, please? Like asking them, like maybe pausing their conversation and having them explain it just to be clear. And because having two people have to talk at the same time, it gets kind of overwhelming to the person, because you want to be able to know what they're saying. So that's always a good way to solve.
Yeah, that's a great tip, Sorretie. It's okay to say, hey, let's put a pause on this conversation. I think we're having some misunderstanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming back to the conversation later and saying, okay, can you explain what you meant in a different way so that I can understand it?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that will help just clear up a misunderstanding. It might have just been the way that it was explained the first time. Or again, if there's frustration involved, it's okay to take that break and come back to the conversation later. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, Sorretie, I want to thank you again on behalf of the whole statewide self-advocacy network here in New Jersey for sharing your expertise with us and sharing your fellowship project with us. So
Thank you for having me present.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody who attended the webinar today. We host a webinar every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, so please check out the New Jersey Self-Advocacy Project homepage right here, our website, for upcoming webinar dates. And thank you all again. I hope everyone has a great afternoon.